Hello and welcome back to Game Over Gerkinman. This is obviously Gerkinman, I don't know who else it would be. And if you remember last episode, we got ourselves... Oh, Jesus. That was unexpected. We got ourselves this fancy-pantsy new weapon here. And, well, it's time we went and took advantage of it to get into some new areas, to get some, you know, more advancements, since that's what the game's all about. And so now we have the double jump, we can of course make our way over here, which is something that... Oh wait, is it up there we're supposed to go? Oh man. I always forget this. And I can hear that ringing of an item and I can't see where it is, and that gives me the willies. Oh, and I stuffed that jump up. We're off to a good start today, folks. How's everyone doing? I hope everyone is doing well. Oh, that's something you can notice about this this item. When it hit that guy, it actually stunned him because it's electric. And I thought I'd also point these things out. There's a lot of this in this game where this platform is floating, and in most video games you wouldn't think anything of it. It's just like, oh yeah, it's a floating platform. But of course in this world everything has to kind of make sense. So this platform is kept aloft by a gas-based propulsion system attached to its underside. So it's just kind of there because of reasons. And there's also these guys flying around. If I can, they're quite fast, so they're a little hard to capture. There you go. This is a flickerbat, a scavenger with optical camouflage that renders it invisible to the naked eye. Flickerbats are deceptive creatures. The only way to track them reliably is with X-ray imaging. They fly carelessly, hunting insects and other small prey that float on the air currents. Flickerbats tend to fly in cyclical hunting patterns, not cynical at all, using primitive sonar to navigate. So the reason I left those into this is because there's a keyword there, which is the thermal imaging. So that is something that we are going to go and get ourselves this episode. It's one of the main actual objects in the game in terms of upgrades. We'll be using it quite a bit in the upcoming parts of the game. So I'm just going to make our way back up into here. Because there was an area in this little thing, this little spot you might remember from a few episodes ago, where there was a purple door which we couldn't get into. And of course, now that we have this, we have access to it. So we also have access to the double jump, which we didn't have at the time. So we're going to go and do that. I'm going to change my weapon because the wave beam, as nice as it is with the tracking and stuff on these guys, is just not practical to use. Because as I said in the previous episode, it's just not quite as powerful as the power beam. It's got power and it's named for a reason. Come on, come on. It's funny too, there are some areas in the game where you can really just run around enemies and not have to worry about taking them out, but these guys are not part of that group. There's also tons of items here that we can't get yet. This is one of those sort of annoying areas where there's no reason to come here in the late game, but you kind of need to if you want to get 100% completion, because there's a ton of items here which you need in order to finish it. Alright, so interestingly enough, you can't shoot that from down below. I don't know what it is. I mean, I've tried a bunch of times and never been able to get it to work, but it seems to be programmed so that you have to hit it at a completely horizontal angle for it to react. And we've got these annoying guys around here. And some shriek bats up here, so nothing all that new, but we're already almost there, and there it is. This is where we're going. So this is going to be a new part of Fendrana Drifts where you haven't been before. I wonder what wonders await us in here. Aside from more of these guys. I guess you'll just have to find out. Alright, so there's a spider ball track there that's going to come into play later on. It's a handy little thing, but for the most part here, you can see there's these little ice platforms here, and that is the secret to getting up here. This is actually a little bit of a puzzle room. You've got to do a couple of things in here to get to the next area. So we're going to start by doing this, and this will trigger a sort of like puzzle sequence. You can hear the puzzle music's kicked in. And we've got a couple of steps we have to take in order to get through this. we've got that guy, and I think this guy as well. I think we have to do both of them. One opens up the... one opens those floodgates. Okay, so you have to open the 2 sets of floodgates. And then I think water starts coming through once you trigger that. That's right. It's all coming back to me. So at the moment this water is quite shallow and doesn't really pose much of a threat, but because it's shallow it also makes it a little bit hard to get any higher than not high at all. And that's where this comes in. So power this with the power bomb, and then here we go. So lift up these floating ice chunks, which will allow us to... Well, actually, we're going to have to do this twice. The first time we do it, it's because there's an item in here which we want. Very important item, an energy tank. You can never have too many of these. So they're up to 5 tanks. We've always got half the tanks in the game already. I just checked my percentage before I started recording, and it said I was at 25%. Now, the way this game works, actually, with the way it displays its percentages, is a little bit different how you'd expect. It doesn't mean you're 25% of the way through the game, but it means that you have gotten 25% of the content. So that's a mix between items that you've got, some upgrades and things that you've scanned. So that's the way the game calculates the percentage of completion. So obviously 100% completion means that you've scanned everything and got every item and upgrade and all of that good, wonderful stuff. Alright, so now that we've got this, we can hop our way back over here again, and we're going to try to climb higher up this. These guys here are actually kind of annoying. These flying bats, they can knock you off, and that can be quite frustrating. So we've got a couple of different directions we can go here as well. We've got this area here, which if you scan this door, still has no power. And this cordite statue is worn and weathered. So there's obviously a couple of things which we're missing in order to get into that, which ain't so great. But that's something that we're going to be coming to later on. And then we've got this room over here, which, if we hop over here, here's a save room. So we'll just come in here and save, because that's what good, smart people do. So this episode might be a little bit longer. There's going to be quite a bit going on in this one. Maybe it won't be. I guess I'll find out. Maybe it won't be as long as I'm expecting it to be. I have noticed, because I edited up to the last episode yesterday. I edited a bunch of these episodes in sequence, and noticed that some of them are only like 15 minutes long, which I guess isn't a bad thing, having shorter episodes. Especially considering the last game I was playing through actually had quite longer episodes. Oh yeah, so you notice this happens when you shoot those with the... Ooh, it's got a new enemy here too. Whoops. This is a... Oh, if I can just get... He's got me pinned up against the wall. If I can just get... Whoops. Is he still in there? Yes. Okay, let's try to finish the scan. He is glitching out. Alright. We'll see more of those guys later on. But he is a stealth pirate, I believe they're called. I've never seen that happen before. That's interesting. Alright, so this is a space pirate base of operations.
Defeat enemies to unlock doors.
So you notice this guy's blades are a different color to the that other guy who was just fighting us. This space pirate sentient aggressor species well trained in weapons and melee combat. Space pirates wield galvanic accelerated cannons and forearm-mounted sights in combat. This species seeks to become the dominant force in the galaxy, and their technology may help them realize this goal. Ruthless and amoral, the pirates care little for the cost of their ambition. Only the results matter, and they take these very seriously. So this is the first time since the beginning of the game that we've really seen these guys, and it's the first time in the game you actually get to really fight them. They're not particularly difficult or anything like that. They're pretty straightforward, really. I would recommend just using the power beam. One charge shot from the power beam is all it takes to take them out, whereas the wave beam takes a few more shots, and as you can see, that was pretty straightforward, pretty easy. That was no real big issue there. So we've got this little side room here. This is where we get ourselves a map of the area. Nice and easy. So this is this section of Fandrana. So now, if we zoom out, we can see how much is left to go. So we've already, explored quite a bit of the map, but there's still a bit of a ways to go. It's always kind of hilarious to find that map, this part of the game. But I guess it makes sense to have it in this space, because why else would the data be laying around if the I guess the Chozo might have had one set up, but anyway, no, I don't remember if that's a different kind of turret or if that's still the old one, because I know there is a second kind of turret which comes along later in the game. I couldn't remember if it was that one or if it was somewhere else. So we'll make our way in here. Let's take out those guys. That's really just like the entrance to this area. It's not overly exciting or anything like that. La-da-da. Now this is a force field where you can kind of see space pirates in the background there just doing their own thing. And if we scan this, it will just let the door down. And we're going to switch back to this gun again. So there's actually a few items hidden away in this room too, and quite a bit of lore to read up on, so we're going to be in here for a little bit once we take care of all these guys. So first of all, we'll make our way up this elevator here, make sure we've cleared everyone out. I know there's quite a few people who aren't a fan of the music that plays when you're fighting space pirates. Yeah, I find it kind of annoying. I can understand why people might find it annoying. Personally, it doesn't bother me. I think it suits it rather well. Also, these guys are just like hanging around on the ceiling, which is kind of hilarious to me. I don't know what they're doing up there. That's just how they spend their time. Okay, take care of that guy. Oh, I thought you were dead, but you're not. Alright, so now we've just got this one turret left, and then we can get some scanning to get some information on what's happening around here. Oh wait, there's still a guy left. Was still a guy left. There we go. Alright, let's make our way back downstairs and then see if we can find any interesting information about what's happening here. Okay, so we've got these cylinders everywhere, which is something... Man, so many computers, so many things to look at. I guess we'll start all the way over here. This will be a very scan-heavy episode, so neither of these have any information, but... So what's this thing here? Stasis tank operational but currently empty, so there's plenty of empty stasis tanks in here. That's not going to stay that way. So here's some actual pirate data. Our initial tests exposing Talon 4's indigenous parasites to Phazon appear to be successful. Increases in strength, size, and aggressiveness are common in all test subjects, as well as unforeseen evolutions like additional poison sacs within the abdomen and the appearance of a second ring of mandibles in several subjects. These creatures were chosen because of their resilience, and it appears possible that given enough exposure to Phazon, they may one day be able to survive on any planet we transport them to. Our methods will have to be refined. We currently have a 100% extinction rate after the 4th infusion period, and most survivors at the 3rd infusion stage are so violent and uncontrollable that they have to be euthanized. Even still, we remain hopeful that further experimentation will result in success. So they're doing a lot of experiments, getting about three phases into the Phazon experiments, and before things really start heading south, but they're slowly making progress. Phazon fluid bath levels at 70%, checking diagnostics per procedure, so it's just a little bit of the thing there about how much stuff to go around, I guess. Access to research lab Ether limited to Team Slayer only. So that's an interesting thing. Ether is a reference to something which is actually the planet of the second game. I've never realized that before. That's interesting. I wonder what the significance of that is. Increased acidity levels recorded in Phazon amniotic bath. Oh, whoops. This is likely a side effect of Phazon ingestion by test subjects, so just more information about weird stuff happening with the Phazon. Ice beetle infestation in Ice Vault region has been 95% exterminated. Report any sightings to security immediately. So there's going to be some ice beetles up ahead somewhere. What's happening with this guy here? Specimen 102, increased volatility recorded, predator awareness indicated even in cold stasis. So even when these guys are being locked down, they're still having issues with them. Euthanized after psychotic episodes, scheduled for removal. So there was a test subject in there, but it's been removed because it was getting a bit too lively. Most terraforming and retrofitting of security checkpoints on Talon 4 is complete, but we continue to research the alarming epidemic of breaches by local creatures. Door records show no unauthorized entries, so we must presume the creatures are either slipping in undetected during daily personal moves or else finding their way in through subterranean tunnels. We have found many small breaches of this latter sort and plugged them wherever we can, but it is unlikely that we will ever achieve full extermination within our current timetable. So there's lots of animals breaking into this facility as well, which is kind of hilarious. No matter how good their security is, it just keeps happening. Phase 1 infusion within central energy core of Xenome 5A is at 75% saturation. Increased dosage appears viable. So obviously they're just trying to push those tests as far as they can. We've got another pirate lore here. We have confided the newfound energy source as Phazon, a V-index mutagen of which we have very little reliable data. The indications point to a meteor of unknown origin expelling Phazon into the environment. This material appears to possess the power to mutate organic life forms sufficiently to withstand its poison. These mutations appear promising, with abrupt evolutionary leaps appearing in single-generation reproduction. Plans to establish a full science team on Talon 4 are being finalized. So that falls back into place of what we saw earlier on when we went to the Chozo temple site where there was that giant crater. So there was indeed a meteor, that pretty much sets it up. There was indeed a meteor which was full of Phazon, and that did crash into the planet, and that's what's been poisoning the place and mutating everything. Mining operations have begun near the crater where Phazon appears to be most concentrated. Daily Phazon yields have increased by 44%, and our mining system becomes more streamlined as personnel and equipment flows increase. Several incidents of Phazon-induced madness have been reported, prompting augmented life support regulations in the deeper chambers. Symptoms include loss of equilibrium, erratic respiration, muscle spasms, and in most extreme cases, hallucinations. A timeline reassessment for the refinery operation is recommended as the material proves more unstable than initial analysis indicated. So a lot of the mining team are actually going insane from or having physical problems because of the radiation. And Xenome SA is undergoing relocation to Lab Hydra. Subjects transfer ordered after a pronounced increase in abhorrent behavior. Security clearance ADR 13. So I don't know what that is. I thought maybe originally that was one of the bosses, or they moved one of the boss characters around or something, but I don't think that that's what that is. Specimen 043, decreased vital signs, cold dampening appears stable. Okay, so it's just another dead thing. Specimen 029, life signs normal, pulse at 140%, mass increase of 4%. So that's just a little bit there. Whatever they're holding in there was in fact growing. But that's it for down on the bottom floor in terms of like lore and that sort of thing. I don't think this is the room that has the hidden objects in it. It's in another one, which we'll be coming along to very shortly. So what's this one? Transfer of specimen 344 to Lab Hydra complete. Further infusion suspended. Pending security assessment. Prep work on all empty stasis tanks must be completed before specimen batch 5 arrives in 12/3/12/2. Okay, so they're talking about moving into Lab Hydra, and that's actually somewhere where we will be going momentarily. And you can hear something in there that sounds a lot like there's an item in here. Cordite casing of column appears weak, so we can't blow that up yet. We need a new item before we can blow that up, but there is, I believe, either an energy tank or a missile tank in there. Specimen 070, optimal absorption mutation has led to unexpected degeneration of internal organs. So some of them, when they're mutating, their internal organs are actually like decomposing while they're mutating, which is kind of disgusting. Do not handle sedated xenomes without proper ice containment equipment. So these xenomes, ice containment, that's a very, very big hint as to what they have been experimented on. If you've played a Metroid game before, you know that the Metroids need to be contained in cold in order to be controlled. So that's an interesting little hint there for people. It's got Metroid Prime in the name, but, you know. Tissue samples from stasis tanks must be hand-carried to Lab Hydra for analysis. Notify security of all material moves. So all this is basically leading up to what they have in Lab Hydra. Viral pathogens found in several xenomes have been traced to Phazon batch 1664.Z. Terminate all subjects. So some Phazon batches are actually more corrupt than others as well, which is kind of interesting. And here we have another pirate lore. Research Outpost Glacier 1 in the Fendrana Drifts region of Talon Falls Mountains is operating at 85% capacity. Sub-zero temperatures have made the Metroid sluggish and easy to control. Even those well into phase-on and fusion cycles, cold containment stasis tanks are sufficient for the juveniles, but some of the larger Metroids have been moved to quarantined caves for safety purposes. Security doors remain an issue as malfunctions due to ice occur every day. Large predators in the waste are also a concern as they continue to kill personnel and breach secure areas. Unfortunately, it has become clear that our containment teams cannot neutralize all of them without a vast increase in munitions and soldiers. So, we just got a little achievement there. That's the first time you hear the Metroids mentioned. So, as you can tell, obviously, they are using the phase-on to experiment on Metroids, and that's really what this game is all about. And so it's taken all this way to work that out. Daily decontamination is now required for all personnel working in Lab Aether. So there's another mention of Lab Aether. Now, I don't know if they used Lab Aether as a name knowing that they were going to have Planet Aether in the sequel, or if they just thought it was a cool word. Phase-on batch shows mental mutation across all subjects. Cross-infusion with batch 1622G recommended. So certain batches of phase-on are having certain effects, which is kind of interesting. Mutation strain 7765 shows massive absorption capacity influx. Strain replication is now underway. So it is interesting that certain phase-on batches are having certain effects. That's something I hadn't picked up on before. Xenon behavioral patterns show decreased reflex activity at temperatures below freezing. So that's just a bunch of Metroid stuff. But in essence, basically, they're coming here because it's cold, because Metroids don't operate well in cold conditions. They're bringing Metroids into this cold area to experiment on them. Which makes sense. It's the ice beam. Anyone who's played Super Metroid or Metroid 2 knows the ice beam is kind of what you need in order to defeat Metroids. You always had to freeze them, and then once you had frozen them, you would shatter them with a missile. But the Space Pirates are using this fact to keep the Metroids contained and under control, basically. Yeah, this weapon is not ideal for taking out turrets, as you can probably see. Alright, so this is a very interesting room. There's quite a bit of cool stuff in here too. Once I take care of all of these guys, we're going to have ourselves a little bit of a puzzle. Playing through this game as a kid, well not as a kid but as a teenager, I always once I got the wave beam, that's all I used until I got the next beam after the wave beam. I always played it that way. I don't know why I didn't alternate between, I guess my brain didn't recognize the fact that the power beam was more powerful than the wave beam. I just thought the wave beam looked cool, I guess. It shoots 3 beams at once, it must be stronger, right? The answer is no. Okay, so before we start this puzzle, we'll just quickly read what these guys say as well. Holographic spatial schematic is in lockdown per security directive. Well, I guess that gives you a bit of a hint as to what we're about to do here. So holographic map coordinate data has been updated successfully. So it's an even bigger hint as to what we're about to do. Okay, so holographic sequence initialized. So we've got to solve this little bit of a puzzle here before we can get complete access to that. But this is definitely one of the cooler things in the game. I really like this room a lot, actually. So before we get to the cool stuff, we just have to get this machine operational. So once again, we're entering puzzle mode. The puzzle music's kicked in. This is pretty straightforward. You basically just have a short time limit to hop around the room and activate each of these little power bomb thingies. It's nothing too crazy. None of the puzzles in this game are overly complicated. There's certainly nothing in here quite as involved as anything in a Zelda game or anything like that. And I mean, Zelda puzzles are basically really basic, even at the best of times generally. So nothing too full on. So with this, we just spin, and that will cause these to come down. How the Space Pirates use this technology, I have no idea. This is their own technology, and apparently this is how they decided to design it. So once again, this is a bit of world building versus gameplay sort of thing, where you can't necessarily have it both ways. Although they try. If you don't really think about it, then you're not going to have any problems with it, but when you really stop and think, it doesn't make sense for Space Pirates to have all this morph ball based tech. And here is the hologram. So there is some really cool lore and information in here. And there's also a new item up there, which is not the item that we're necessarily looking for, but it is definitely something we will be taking advantage of. So we're actually getting 2 new items this episode. Lower node of astronomical holographic projector, functioning normally. Alright, so let's get up a little bit higher so we can properly read these laws from these planets. So this is planet Allmine, 2.3 trillions, an uninhabitable wasteland savaged by nuclear dust storms and constant seismic upheavals. So it's cool that they just have all these different planets here, and some of these you'll recognize. This is planet Zebes, or Zebes, depending on how you like to pronounce it. I've always called it planet Zebes. Planet's crust is primarily earthic, or making it ideal for subterranean construction. A class, whatever X, 1X is numbers-wise, 110 or something. I don't know. Zebes is inhospitable to most bioforms. The world was considered unremarkable until it became a base of space pirate forces. So, Zebes you would recognize as the planet from Super Metroid and from the original Metroid. This is Talon 4, so this is where we are. Ecosystem studies indicate that Talon 4 was a biological paradise prior to the impact of an extraterrestrial object. What remains of the biosphere is slowly fading due to exposure to phazon radiation. At current rate of decay, Talon 4 will be a barren class 300? I don't know, I can't read Roman numerals. Wasteland in approximately 25 years. So this planet's on the way out. There's also this tiny little one here, planet Billium. Quarantine atmosphere is rife with Mitaralis, a tainted gaseous globally exterminated virus. This is like a living gas on that planet, which is fucking hilarious. Alright, strangely enough, you can't scan the sun in the middle, I don't think. No. No information on the sun. Guess the sun's not as important. So this is going to be a longer episode than some of the more recent ones, but I think the episode after this will be quite short, so I guess that's how it balances out. So we need to make our way to the top of this room now. You can't really come up here until you've done all this. Also, that's a save room in there, so that's where we're going to be ending this episode. But here we have the super missile, which you get rather unceremoniously. It's literally just solve that puzzle and you just get the super missile. Not all that exciting, really. All it does is, well, I won't really show you what it does until the next episode. Basically, you charge up your power beam, and it uses up 5 missiles to create a kind of much more powerful explosion. There we go. Alright. And this is going to take us to the surface again. La-da-da-da. And we're going to actually fight some enemies which we are familiar with, but we haven't really fought before. So you might after we take out these guys. Right after these guys are done. So now we actually this is our first time fighting the jet propulsion space pirates. So we saw those earlier on near the crashed Orpheon, and they fired a couple of pot shots at us, but didn't really cause us any problems where now. And as you can see, when you shoot them down, they actually try to kamikaze you, which is pretty cool. And just take out this last guy here. They're not the strongest guys in the world. They got pretty weak shields. I guess to make up for the fact that they're pretty agile. So if you use the wave beam on this, these are good guys that are showing off how the tracking on these guys works. So if you just lock onto one, you can see the wave beam like tracks them as it makes its way around. So wave beam is actually probably the best weapon to use on these guys, other than the plasma beam, which you get much later in the game. But it's certainly one of the more combat-heavy little zones in the game. Moments in the game. But this isn't a game a spot we'll really be returning to until the very, very end. As you can see, there's a way of climbing. You can climb up here. And there is a window, you can see that there's this building across from here. There's actually a Chozo artifact in that building, but until we get the Phazon cannon, we cannot actually do anything about it, sadly. I don't think there's anything above this door. Don't think. No, there's nothing in here. You'd think this would be a good place to hide some upgrades, but it's evidently not. Anyway, we're going to come back down here and go down another elevator. And then we're going to grab the item that we actually came here to get. Where's the scanning majiggy to get this thing working? Ah, right there. Behind the door. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, a short elevator ride. I do find it weird that, well, I guess the space pirates can't really get rid of these guys since I am the one with the wave beam. Not a lot the space pirates can do about it. And you can hear that there are definitely more space pirates in here, but more importantly, there is something floating around in that tank. Yes, indeed, that is a Metroid. Energy-based parasitic predator. The dominant species of planet SR388, which is the planet from Metroid 2 on the Game Boy. Metroids can suck the life force out of living things. A Metroid will latch onto its prey and drain energy, growing larger as it does. The only way to shake and attack Metroid, an attached Metroid, is to enter morph ball mode and lay a bomb. So, oh my god, and now it's after us. So the wave beam's the best weapon to use on these guys at this point of the game, at least. It kind of stuns them for a second, and it only takes a few shots from them to take them out. Metroids in this game aren't really a massive threat, at least not those little ones. There are definitely ones later on that become a bit more of a pain. This is another pirate log. Initial transfer of Metroids to Talon 4 research facilities has been completed. 3 were terminated in an incident at the landing site, but the others were pacified and transported safely. Initial Phazon infusion test is underway, and we are eager to observe the effects of Phazon on Metroids, especially their ability to absorb and process the energy given off by Phazon sources. Early research suggests a considerable growth in power and size. Whether the creature stays stable thereafter remains to be seen. So obviously the reason they chose Metroids for their experiments was because Metroids basically live off power, so it makes sense to, when you're doing power-based experiments, to experiment on them. So what else we got in here? Containment temperature stable at 3 degrees centigrade, environmental diagnostics satisfactory, so they're pretty happy with this facility and the way it operates. There are definitely more space pirates in here. You can just take them out from up here. Just little pot shots. I remember trying to do this on my old CRT TV back on when I was playing it on the GameCube originally, and just it was so blurry. I just couldn't do it. Let's look at these blueprints here. Internal organs of Metroid seem to be limited to nucleonic absorption cells and massive energy reservoirs. So that's just a little bit about the biology of Metroids. Metroid brain scans results in studies show accelerated activity in parental lobe during hunting cycles at temperatures above 10 degrees centigrade. So they think differently depending on the temperature. This is another pirate lore. The reconstruction of Geoform 187, codenamed Ridley, was recently completed after his defeat on Zebes. Command ordered a number of metagenetic improvements for him. Though aggressive, we were able to implement these changes in a cycle. The metamorphosis was painful and quite successful in the end. Early tests indicated drastic increase in strength, mobility, and offensive capability. Cybernetic modules and armor plating have been added as well. We believe our creation, now called Meta Ridley, will become the mainstay of our security force, a job he will certainly relish. So at the end of the original Metroid, you kill Ridley, and they've actually pieced him back together again with cybernetic parts, which you kind of saw in the first episode when you saw him in the Orpheon. So they haven't touched him with Phazon, thankfully, but they have cybernetically enhanced him, which is kind of cool. Phazon Infusion Stage 6, Subject Metroid BR5497. Subject's mass at 180% of previous Phazon cycle. Increased dosage by 4%, so they just keep pumping them full of more Phazon because they can handle it. Stasis Tank B118, or B, Contaminated beyond acceptable safety standards, removal squad requested. So I think that was what this one here was, so it exploded. They were supposed to get rid of it, but they hadn't yet. Metroid containment fields appear 100% effective after adjustments. Temperatures below 10 degrees centigrade will render Metroids docile. So once again, just more information about them using the cold to keep them under control. The hooked mandibles of the Metroid penetrate the skin of its prey and siphon pure life force energy. So that's just a little bit of, most people who've played a Metroid game already know that, but if you hadn't played one, I guess that might be new to you. I was not expecting to jump down here right into that guy. So there is a missile expansion up there which we're going to be getting as well, but before we do that we're going to just scan these machines in case there's something interesting here. All guards must use ice containment gear when transporting Metroids. This includes sedated specimens and those pronounced dead. So even once they're dead, they still hold a threat. Confidence is high regarding Phazon applications. We know enough about Phazon now to begin combining it with space pirate DNA. The codename of this venture will be Project Helix. Preliminary studies indicate that Phazon infusion could produce radical new pirate genomes. Benevolent mutation levels are high in current test subjects. Phazon madness is a concern, but refinements in the infusion process should reduce or neutralize the odds of mental degeneration. So that's your first hint that the pirates are actually starting to experiment on each other as well, which is going to be a big deal later in the game. As energy-based creatures, Metroids show immediate mass increases upon energy absorption, so they kind of grow a little bit when they've been on you, but it's only minor. Directive in the event of Metroid attack, propel creatures with missiles set to maximum concussion, so that's some helpful advice there, actually. Alright, I'm going to try to take this guy out from up here, but I don't... Oh, that was pretty perfect. So yeah, you can see how it tracked him down there and took him out. Okay, so now we're going to just hop up here and get this missile expansion, because missile expansions are always good to have. This is actually a little tricky rolling the ball around on this little surface here. It's so, it can be quite finicky and quite tricky to get right. Which is obviously done on purpose. They want to make sure people have a good handling on the... Because generally when you're on the Morph Ball, you're in like these little narrow passageways and things like that. You don't really get a lot of... Oh no! I was so close! Oh well, while I'm here, there's another upgrade. Another energy tank, so we're only one away from half the energy tanks in the game. Let's go back up here and get this missile expansion. Now you can also see down here there's some more tanks of Metroids. Now something you can do when you're down in this room, I'm not going to because I already killed everyone. But you can actually explode those and the Metroids will... Oh my god, I can't believe I just did that again. The Metroids will actually attack the pirates. And sometimes they'll even kill them. And you can kind of see them growing a little bit just like they would if they were to latch onto you. So that's a cool little touch. Oh, come on. So yeah, as I said, Morph Ball, finicky little piece of work. Quite finicky. Alright, let's try this again. I'm sure you're all having a great time watching me trying to nudge my way to get this little missile expansion here. Just slowly down. Just tap it in. Just tap it in. There we go. Wicked. Alright, now if we come down here, there's some more lore to read up on. I think this is just going to say it's empty. Yeah, don't need to worry about empty stasis tanks. Empty stasis tanks are not interesting stasis tanks. Metroids infused with Phazon strain Vertigo are thriving. We feel they could be Class 1 energy harvesters if proper submission measures are employed. So they're definitely having some success with one particular strain of Phazon. Here we go. Metroid dissection continues to provide more questions than answers. Our research teams have isolated the energy conduits that run from the invasive twin mandibles to the energy core in the creature's quadrupart height. Wow, that's a word. Nucleus. But the manner in which the Metroid actually extracts the life force from its prey remains an utter mystery. The victim does not lose blood or any other vital fluids, and yet the Metroid extracts energy. Identifying this problem is our central problem. It takes no physical form, and yet without it, the victim dies. We will continue to research this matter as the isolation of this life-giving essence could be the key to our ascendance. So that's interesting because I know, like, when Metroid was originally, designed, it was an NES game. They didn't think out how the Metroids actually took the energy away. So it kind of makes sense that they're just like, it just kind of happens and we don't get it. Okay, studies of Metroid biology continue, though with limited progress. It seems likely that we will be much more successful using the Metroids for our means rather than trying to reproduce their powers. If they could be adequately tamed, we would have no need of a proper understanding of their metabolism. A small force of disciplined Metroids could wipe out entire armies, and once we find a way to shield them from cold containment weapons, they'll be invincible. Furthermore, if we could then harvest the energy they'd consumed, we would have a near-limitless source of power at our disposal. So that's actually a pretty cool plan. The Metroids, if they were to harvest them, they would be able to do some very cool things with them. Case been secured, specimen remains in quarantine area, all experiments have been suspended pending pacification of area. So that is actually reference to the next boss we're going to be fighting, which will be next episode. Project Titan is being held indefinitely. Security breaches resulting in massive casualties have occurred. Access is strictly prohibited until further notice. So that's a reference to what we'll be fighting next episode, as I said. Quarantine specimen exhibits highly aggressive behavior. Its body structure composed of phazon ore appears nearly invulnerable. This has rendered our efforts to train and discipline the subject useless. So those are some nice little hints there at what we have coming up. Which, if you played this game, you know exactly what it is. But if you haven't, it's probably not what you think it is. Let's head down into here. So as I mentioned in our security log, there has been an infestation of ice beetles. They only managed to get rid of 95% of them. I guess I better get rid of the other 5%. And here we are in a nice dark room. This will be the last room that we explore today. Let's do that. Okay, just going to read these laws as well while we're here. Testing of thermal imaging software complete. Commence download of tactical visor prototype for field testing. Oh look, there's one of these guys here. I totally forgot that there were flying dudes in this room. Oh crap, now I've fallen down here. Come on, man, you're dead to me. That wasn't so bad. Central tank control circuit connection terminated. Alright, so we actually have to disable all these rings around this little thing here. Okay, so as you can see, there are also Metroids in here. They're obviously containing them in here. For whatever reason, we want to come down each level and scan some computrons. I think there's 3 all up. 3 is a good number. There's also this security thing down here. Can I hit that from up here? Yes, I can. God bless the tracking ability of the wave beam. So this Metroid's not really doing anything to us right now, which is, probably a good thing. I'm okay with that. And the computer... Oh yeah, this is where the secondary computer is. Take out this guy first. Scan these. What have we got here? Thermal imaging software exceeds initial expectations. Combat applications are being evaluated by command. Field testing in Vendrina region approved. Use of prototype visors by security personnel approved. Okay, so if I scan this, central tank auxiliary circuit connection terminated. Only 1 more to go. And that's going to wrap up this episode in a moment. Inform command that thermal vision tests will begin soon. Abnormal heat traces are represented as red when looking through the thermal imaging spectrum. So this is all sounding a little bit like a certain Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Now that I stop to think about it. Central tank main circuit connection terminated. So there we go. We now have access to this new upgrade. And I'm going to pick this upgrade up in the next episode because this episode's already run pretty long. And really, it's going to be the basis of the next episode, so... We're going to get that next time, and we're going to go and fight ourselves a wonderful boss and pick up another upgrade, so it'll be a 2-upgrade episode, and I hope you'll join me for that. So until then, have a good one. Catch you later.